Good evening and welcome to the Invictus Racing League. This is the top tier of the Eco Performance Tier 1 for Round 5 at the British Grand Prix in partnership with gridfinder.com. And we are here at the home of Formula 1 and British Racing, Silverstone. My name's JPH and joining me tonight is Joe Hamster, filling in for Webber tonight. Joe, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, mate. It's nice to be alongside you in the top tier of IRL racing.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting night. Obviously, back to normal in terms of the weekend structure. Obviously, last week we had the sprint races of Austria. Who's out first? I think that's Jeremy Clarkson. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Silverstone, mixed circuit for some people, very nice for most. Obviously, probably one of the most raced tracks in the game. So probably expecting quite a tight qualifying.
Yeah, it's a track that's got a few difficult sectors, so it can throw a spanner in the works for some people, but I think most people are a fan of this track, and it's a good place to win your first Grand Prix or even build on that lead.
No, absolutely. Obviously, with Silverstone, it's 5.8 miles, 5.8 kilometres long, 18 corners, 10 to the right, 8 to the left. And we have Jeremy Clarkson. I think we'll go on board for a lap of it. It's just coming to the Vale chicane now. Last couple of corners. So Vale chicane and Club are your starting points for the lap because the line just after the corner. So up towards Abbey should be a flat-out right-hander if you get the line right, which Jeremy does. Flat left through Farm and then into Village. Hard on the brakes, down to fourth for Jeremy through Village. Into the loop, slightly tighter hairpin, and then you're going to exit through Aintree, flat out into the first DRS zone. Down the Wellington Straight, we do have a bit of traffic ahead of us. I think they're going to move out of the way, which is good to see as we head into Brooklyn. So a very late apex, almost double left-hander that you just merge into one. Luffield, double apex, long right-hander. Clip it on the entry, clip it on the exit, use a bit of curb. Woodcut, again, not really a corner anymore. Used to be a chicane, but it's flat out now. Up to Copse Corner. Very famous nowadays from Verstappen and Hamilton. Just down a quick gear to make the front bite. Lovely done by the Aston Martin. Maggots, flick left, flick right, Beckett's, down a gear as you enter Beckett's, and then Chapel Curve onto the Hangar Straight. The second of the DRS zones, probably where we're going to see a lot of the overtaking down the Hangar Straight as you head up towards Stowe Corner. Again, down a gear or two with the no traction. A little clip of the curb which has just unsettled the Aston there, just ever so slightly. Hard on the brakes for Vale, fourth gear for Clarkson. Flicker left, flicker right, and then hopefully flat out through Club to complete a lap in 1 minute 27.1.
Yeah, good time. I'm just following the other Aston behind him, and he's looked on good form here, but just a tenth behind his teammate, not a time to be too concerned about at all.
Yeah, Michael Lookgood does a 28.2. Do have a couple of new drivers tonight, though. Neek Justin 2000. You're going to have to excuse me if that's completely wrong. And ERT Nipro are in the Alfa Romeos for the remainder of the season, which is good to see drivers in those Alfa Romeos. We've also got the return of Burmeister, by the looks of it, in that Ferrari, which is good to see. And yeah, I think other than that, everyone else pretty standard. Obviously, Ricky Maru, the reserve in the Haas, as MDJ is just on his flying lap going through Copse Corner.
I think Ricky Maru's been promoted to a full-time seat now, isn't he? Up from reserve.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen that notification. He might have been. I'm going to double check.
Yeah, I think so. The two new drivers are looking very quick out here tonight.
Yeah, well, we know Nipro from last season. He done a part-time season last season, and he was looking quick. Had a bit of misfortune, but we do know he's got a bit of pace in him. As MDJ coming up to the line on his latest attempt, he's always a driver. MDJ you got to look out for. A 127.5 puts him in 6th place. I mean, more to the interesting point is Ghost, because he's completely messed up that first flying lap of his, and he finds himself in an unusual position down in 12th.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one around here tonight. It's almost like it's not equal performance. You got the teams stacked one on top of each other, usually like we see around Spain.
Yeah. So very concerning that for Ghost. As JSP coming up towards the line. As far as I can tell, Joe, Ricky Marie is still down as reserve.
Is he down as a reserve at the moment? I think he's looking at a full-time seat sometime soon. I could be wrong.
I know he did start this season in Tier 2. I do know that.
Did he?
Ricky Marie, yeah. And then he dropped down to reserve there. As JSP goes 12th place, Stinos in 13th again. Stinos, another driver who we know has got good pace, but not necessarily around every circuit. Speed Queen just starting her lap. So for Speed Queen, this has got to be the first of 2 runs, because it's not exactly the shortest in and out laps.
Yeah, she's left it a little bit late here to fit 3 laps in, going out, maybe to avoid some traffic. If she's confident around the track, then 2 goes is all it needs.
Yeah, I mean, she might be thinking of trying to save a set of softs as well. Because obviously the tyres, all your tyres get carried through to the race. And so having a fresh set of softs in case of any potential safety cars near the end of the race is always handy.
Does the game transfer those across properly?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
They
so
do,
if you use all 3 of your soft compounds, they're all used in the race.
Okay, I didn't realise, to be fair. I know the game has its host of issues, so...
Yeah, no, they do actually transfer across, and you don't get a fresh set of softs if you use them all in qualifying, unless, that is, you go softer on the tyre options and you have 4 sets of softs, but then you lose your set of extra mediums.
It might be one to note for the future, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Its tyre strategy can be quite interesting. Speed Queen goes 4th quickest, which is good to see her up near the front. Reshka's just come out for his out lap. I think there's several others. I'm going to say Justin, because I don't want to keep pronouncing his first part of his name wrong. And we'll get the correct pronunciation for next week. Yeah, who else is out there? So Emir is out there on an out lap.
Yeah, I'm just on board with Emir at the moment, getting ready for his lap.
Michael Look will be the first of the second runners to be going for his second lap in the Red Bull. Now, Michael Look, he's had a bit of an up and down season so far, but he has shown good pace at times.
I know himself and Tarek were a little bit concerned at one point about being in the first tier, but they've both proved themselves well.
As he comes up through towards Village and the Loop. Really done up towards Aintree. What is his sector time going to be at the end of Sector 1? It's going to be a 27.6, which is just a bit quicker than his current fastest lap.
Emir's unfortunately invalidated turn 1, gone a little bit too tight on the apex and cut the corner, but he should be able to keep that ERS down and possibly go for another runner straight away.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to find every little thousandth here, isn't he, now, just to try and get, I mean, with Justin in the 126s, which is very impressive times.
Yeah, I was on board with Emir on his first lap, and he was leaving no margin for error, so he's trying to push those extra thousandths, like you said, out of every lap.
Which is unusual to go absolutely flat out on your first attempt, because normally a lot of people like to get a banker lap in just to say, I've got a time, now we can start taking that sort of risk as Michael Lutker into the Vale chicane. What can he produce on this latest attempt? So 127.9, so he has gone quicker, but he hasn't moved around the tables too much.
In the top 10, not too bad.
As Justin goes even quicker with a 126.8. So widening that margin to those behind. We've got that's just an AlphaTauri getting out of the way of someone. Ricky Maru crossing the line, but 4.4 down on his time. I think it's Reshka on the lap. He is, isn't he?
I don't know, I'm just on board with Ryan at the moment, going through Maggots and Beckett's. But he's had to lift it quite a bit through there, and he might have lost a couple of tenths, I think. He is still a tenth up on his time. That will see him move up the leaderboards a little bit, but not making too much of an impression, unfortunately.
No, and I think obviously Ryan is also carrying a 5-second penalty into this race as well, which is gonna not be ideal for him come the race. It means he's gonna have to do a little bit of extra work to get the places he wants. As he goes into 8th.
Yeah, just the one position there with that 2 tenths improvement.
And Ghost has done what we expect, or we've come to expect from Ghost, up into the top 3, 1:27.1 from the McLaren. As we do have more people coming round, Stowe, Burmeister being one of them. And I think that might be the Stinos or Nipro behind.
Yeah, a couple of them going into the pits there.
Burmeister, 1:27.3, so 7th place for the Ferrari driver so far.
It's looking very tight between sort of the top 8 drivers.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that, I mean, from 1st to 10th, all covered by 1 second, and Michael Looker's not far outside that 1 second either, which is obviously good for us to see, because of we want some close racing in this, and I have been told by JSP that it looks like a dry quali, dry race, so perfect conditions for these guys to be racing in as Stinos goes 11th quickest.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different one for me, because I think I prefer the wet conditions when it comes to a race. Not so much in the qualifying, but a wet race is always, it's a nice change for me.
And I think I'm just seeing JSP has spun his car through Club Corner. I've got a feeling that may have been to start his second flying lap, so that's ruined that attempt if it was. Very easy to spin at Club Corner. I mean, people just think it's just flat out through, but the car does move around quite a lot on entry, and if you clip the curb wrong, it will send the back end round on you.
Yeah, there's a couple corners around here that it's easy to lose the back of the car. Coming out of Maggots and Beckett, that left-hander onto the hangar straight is also a bit notorious for some spins, but also cops as well run a bit wide or take the corner a bit too sharp, and the back end will just step out of you.
So we've got Speed Queen going on to a lap. I think that might be Jasper coming to the end of his lap. 1:27.5, so 9th place for the Haas driver. Again, he's another one who's come into this and has shown pace. He had good pace at Hungary. And good pace at Austria, really. But again, just another driver who got a little bit unlucky with situations and a few mistakes. But I think as Tier 1's grown this season, obviously we started off with a slightly smaller field, but as it's grown, everyone's got tighter and faster together. And it's creating some great moments.
Yeah, I think with these faster drivers joining, it encourages the rest of them to pick up the pace.
Whilst we watch Speed Queen, I'll just quickly take you through the top 5 of the championship. So Cameron Searle is leading the championship on 40 points. 5 points behind is Ghost. Stinos is 3rd on 27. Speed Queen 4th on 24. MDJ 5th on 21. In terms of constructors, Alpha Tauri do lead on 61. McLaren have 45 points. 40 points for Ferrari, 39 for Haas, and 34 for Aston Martin. And that does bring up a name, Joe, that we haven't spoken about yet, which is Cameron Searle, who is down in 8th place.
Yeah, I've not watched his qualifying, so I don't know if he's a bit of a guy who performs better in the race, but I think P8 he'd be looking to improve on that one for sure. As Speed Queen is not really up on a time at all, and she'll abandon that lap in the hope to get maybe 1/3 run in, unless she is going to save those tyres, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit weird to do a heat cycle though, because I'm not quite sure how much a heat cycle does in this game. But what I can tell you is Cameron Searle has not been any lower than the second row of the grid this season through qualifying.
He's got a point to prove if he comes back onto track then.
Absolutely, and obviously he is championship leader as well, so he's going to want to be up there to take advantage of any of his rivals having any misfortunes, because as we've seen in the past, consistency in this league is absolutely crucial if you want to challenge and take a championship victory.
Well, that's exactly it. The more races you finish, the more points you get. Is the basics really of racing, but also you got to keep yourself near the top. So if you're outside the top 10, it doesn't matter whether you finish or not.
Ricky Maru is, I think, the only man at the moment on a flying lap as he heads towards Brooklands in the Haas. And obviously, coming up towards the old pitch straight. It's going to be what's going to be interesting here is how everyone does the turn one. Obviously, we have seen a couple of incidents through turn one this week. Hopefully, we don't get the same with the tier one guys. But we have seen a couple of virtual safety cars very early on in races this week, which has spiced things up a little bit.
Yeah, I may have potentially caused one of those virtual safety cars last night, unfortunately.
So we do have the final set of laps going on now. Ghost currently, I think, the leader of the pack for the final runs. Unfortunately, Ricky Maroon did invalidate his lap. He's going to carry on and complete it anyway. But Ghost will be the first person to set a time, I think, if I've got my map positioning correct, in this McLaren. And he's had a tough old season for Ghost. It's really not gone the way of last season. He's still second in the championship, but we've seen mistakes from Ghost, and he's actually had to use ERS for the majority of the season to keep up with everyone.
Yeah, I did see he sort of started running away with the championship last season, but not the case tonight.
And he comes on to the Hanger straight in the McLaren. Interesting that he's gone to McLaren. I don't know if that was a him and Reshka choice. Obviously, they're all teammates last season, defending constructors champions into Vale. But at least everyone can see him in the bright orange papaya.
He was a 10th up in the last sector.
And 10th and a half up to go second currently. We got Reshk coming through along with Jasper, who's just starting. And Reshka, only 17th for Reshka. We know he's not a strong qualifier, but he not necessarily for people's mistakes in the race does Reshka. So constant point scorer as Emir is let by his teammate of Jeremy, who has invalidated his final attempt. The Aston Martins, these two looked phenomenal at Austria. Question is, can they keep that sort of pace up? I mean, Jeremy Clarkson no higher than fourth, and Emir puts in a 1:26.7.
Yeah, just on board with Nipro there, who was looking a 10th and a half off on his time, but he's had a spin unfortunately out of the corner, and that will be the end of qualifying for him.
Who else have you got coming through? MDJ through Club Corner now in the AlphaTauri. It's a 10th place for him. Burmeister. And I'm going to guess that might be Justin behind, as Burmeister stays in 7th. And Justin cannot overturn Emir's time here. So Emir Djurkovic has managed to get himself in a really nice position for this British Grand Prix so far.
Yeah, 1:26.7, that is a cracking time, but all eyes on Cameron at the moment. He is 2.5 tenths up in his time, down in P10, and he's definitely going to want to start a bit higher than that, and he does manage to jump himself to 5th place, but that was quickly taken away down into 6th, but a good time from him.
Yeah, and I think that is the last of our times, because I think that's Emir now coming down the hanger straight under AI power. So Emir Djurkovic will take pole position for the British Grand Prix. And that pace we saw in Austria, it's carrying over to Britain.
Yeah, brilliant time at 1:26.7. That's a lot quicker than the previous tiers. Definitely goes to show they are the top tier of racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do have the race lap record for Silverstone, which was produced by Max Verstappen in a Red Bull in 2020, so a lot more downforce, or top-heavy downforce, shall we say. He done a 1:27.097 in the race. Also, I don't think we're going to be beating that tonight in these cars, just purely from the aspect that they're more ground aero than top-heavy aero, but the fact that they've Emir, the likes of Emir and Justin and Ghost have beaten that time in qualifying. Quite impressive.
Yeah, definitely a good time. At 1:27 in the race. God, that's mighty fast.
But, as we go to the results screen, Joe, would you like to take us through the grid order for the British Grand Prix?
Yeah, of course. We've got Emir starting at the front of the field with Justin just behind him in his first race for IRL. Ghost in third place with Nipro finishing out the second row. Speaking with a brilliant time at the end, moving himself into fifth with Cameron, who might be disappointed down in sixth. Jeremy, we have in P7 with Jasper just behind him in P8 and Burmeister on his return in P9. Tarax down in P10 with MGJ, who wished he could have done better in P11, with Ryan just behind him in 12th. Finishing out the order is JSP in 13th place with Michael Lucky in 14th. Sinus down in 15th, and bringing up the rear is Luke, Rikimaru and Reshka.
Yeah, I think Reshka's going to definitely be looking for a lot better race there. I think he'll be a little bit disappointed with that one. But I mean, in terms of gained positions this season, it's the two AlphaTauris that everyone's to watch for. MDJ's made up 12 places, and Cameron Saw's made up 10 so far this season. So the AlphaTauris, I mean, Reshka's got 8 to his name for game position, so again, still someone to look out for. But I mean, that kind of shows just how good the racing is, because there's not many people storming through the field.
Yeah, I think Cameron's going to want to almost double his overtakes this season if he wants to climb up near the front of the field tonight.
Yeah, obviously no formation lap again tonight. We're going to be straight into the action once everyone is ready. If you have just joined, welcome to the Invictus Racing League Tier 1 in partnership with gridfinder.com. This is round 5 for the British Grand Prix. You do have myself, JPH, and Joe Hamster taking you through the action tonight. And the question is, if anyone in the chat wants to be brave enough, put some predictions in. I'm certainly not brave enough to do that, because let's face it, predictions never go well.
No, I think in all the predictions I've done, I've never been anywhere near.
Question is, I mean, it's a dry race, so there's obviously 2 strategies here, both using mediums and hards. What would your preferred strategy be?
I think normally it would be a hard to medium, because there's always that chance of a safety car, but judging by the rest of the races this week, I think the hards to mediums are actually a little bit quicker, and carrying those hards as long as you can and then onto those quicker mediums, it does seem to be producing performances lower down.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that Silverstone shows, especially around here, is the cold tyre element. As you can see, all the mechanics lining up in some weird pose as per usual. Just waiting for the race. I mean, they look very excited in there for the race start. But yeah, this track does show cold tyres massively compared to people that have got tyres up to temperature.
Yeah, it's the fast corners that really, if you push your luck too much, the car will just go round straight away.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even that. It's the traction out of the slow corners. I mean, we've seen it both races. Guys with the warm tyres, a lot better traction, but we have 3 seconds before we get underway. And they line up on the grid. Emir on your right, Justin on your left. 5 red lights. We are green for the British Grand Prix, and the question is, who's going to get the best launch? It looks like Emir's got the best launch, and Justin's already behind him going into Abbey for the first time tonight. Nipro up into 3rd place as we go through, and we got spinning action behind. That's a Ferrari and a Mercedes. Ryan and Burmeister into Village in the loop for the first time. Question is, anyone going to make any moves? Ghost looking down the inside of Jeremy Clarkson, trying to defend his position. Jasper up into 6th place. Big wiggle there for, I think that was Tirac. As we head down through Aintree and the Wellington Straight, everyone looking to get a little bit of drafting into Brooklands. We got Jasper still side by side with Speed Queen. I think Speed Queen's going to hold this round the outside and for the inside of Luffield. And I think everyone possibly just starting to calm down as Cameron Searle down to 8th place at the moment, and he's being attacked by his teammates. He has a massive twitch coming out of Luffield. Side by side between the AlphaTauris, this is not what they're going to be looking for their constructors.
Yeah, just an update on that spin for Burmeister. Unfortunately, he was sandwiched between two cars and they just had nowhere to go, and it did resolve in a spin for herself.
Yeah, absolutely. As MDJ does overtake his teammate, we'll have a look at the tyres in a minute as we try and make sure everything's settled down. As Stinos, I think, has had a bad run through Chapel and has been overtaken by Reshka. Cameron gets back pass and Justin for the lead. It's all kicking off. They're side by side through Stowe down towards Vale Chicane now. The Aston Martin defending on the inside and looks like he's going to keep the place for now. Although Justin gets a lovely old switch back on the exit towards Club. And good driving from Emir just to make sure he's given a bit of space to the Alfa Romeo just on the off chance. But both the top two on hards, Nipro on the mediums.
Yeah, not a lot of position changes. One or two at most, as a few people got caught up in that turn 1 incident, but all sort of holding their position for now.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. A lot of drivers favouring that hard tyre tonight. Only 4 drivers starting on the mediums.
I think the knowledge has got to have gone around about the safety car not coming out too often around here, as they all are starting on those hard tyres.
I think Reshka and Tirak, I think Tirak's just been overtaken by the McLaren. So I think the biggest mover is Reshka there, from 18th to 11th on the first lap and a half. Oh, that's an AlphaTauri, that's MDJ. He's gone round after Luffield. He's gone a long way down. He's almost pretty much a woodcut before he's fully gone off the road. But that's not going to be ideal for his tyres. They're definitely going to be warm now, but not quite the warmth he was looking for.
No, I didn't see what happened there, but it's an interesting place to spin the car. I'm wondering if he was sort of battling himself through the corner that whole time and just dropped it on the exit.
Yeah, looks like Speed Queen down the inside of Jeremy into Stowe corner. Alpine versus Aston. Can't quite get the move done at Stowe, and what we're seeing here is very much the nature of these faster corners, is that you can go down the inside but you get a little bit pinched as you can't carry the pace through and wide through the corner exit, so you kind of have to check up a little bit, and it's definitely showing around here, because then the outside line you get the grip, you open up the pace, and Jeremy just defending his position there.
Yeah, if you're going for the inside line, you've got to carry a hell of a lot more speed through that corner, so you can just close the door on the exit. But if you get pinched on that inside, it's usually no way through, unfortunately.
I think now everyone has kind of settled down. DRS is now active, so we're going to start to see people having a look maybe down the hangar straight on this third lap of 26. But I think we'll just catch our breath a little bit, Joe, because that's been a very exciting first 2 laps of this race.
Yeah, a couple of spinners and a bit of action going on, but currently they're in a 16 car long DRS train at the moment, so I don't know if we'll get too many moves down that hangar straight unless people are running a setup with a very low front wing.
Yeah, what surprised me at the moment is Nipro's not really on the back of Justin here, which is a little bit of a surprise. Being on those medium tyres, they are normally like anything up to a second quicker than those hards, especially at the start of Grand Prix. So I'm surprised he's not all over them, or whether this is a bit of a team thing where they're just deciding not to battle, try and get away from Ghost, who is nearing outside a second from the Alfa Romeos.
Yeah, the dirty air around Silverstone is quite bad, and that could be playing a bit of a factor, and that will be ruining his tyres, unfortunately. But if Justin feels like he's got the pace, I'm sure he won't be letting anybody through anytime soon, as we do have a spin at the back there, it looks like, from Tarek, unfortunately.
Yeah, through Club Corner. Not ideal for him. He's going to get underway just ahead of MDJ. I think MDJ will probably get him very shortly. Emir started well here. He's got half a second to the Alfa Romeos behind. We're looking to just consolidate that lead now and maybe just start a little bit of tyre management just to see if he can make those hards maybe go a little bit longer and look to defend his position with the overcut. But Jeremy all over the back of Ghost.
Yeah, those front 3 drivers have pulled out of the DRS of those behind, so they will definitely be looking to maybe not battle too much and just pull themselves away before they get into any battles. Maybe going for the pit strategies to make a position, especially on those medium tyres. A split strategy with the Alphas, and that could look to pay advantage against Emir in the long run. Yeah,
I think it's a wise move because both of them seem to be of a similar pace. Maybe they feel that both of them can only do the same amount of laps on each compound, so they've done that just to make sure no one gets held up in the pits. Would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one around Silverstone though, because those medium and hard tyres, they both last quite a while, and actually the pit window is very similar between those two tyres, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Neat Pro go in just 1 or 2 laps earlier than his teammate, because he does cut through that first corner there.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect the medium runners in no later than the 12th lap, and I think the hards probably lap 15, 16 area would be the normal guess. But everyone just holding station right now. No one can quite make a move. I mean, it was a little bit like Tier 3's race on Monday, where we had a massive line of cars, and just no one could really make any gains at all.
Yeah, it was an interesting one with Tier 3, because it started off in that way, but then as soon as we got towards the pit stops, there was a couple of mistakes on the pit entry, and then we had a very spread field, so hopefully it'll stay nice and tight through here.
Meanwhile, Cameron Searle, he's on the back of Jasper, but you just get the feeling he's starting to bide his time in the Alpha Tauri Speed Queen all over the back of Jeremy Clarkson once again. Up through Chapel.
Yeah, I'm just eyeing up these 3 drivers as they are all very close together, and Speed Queen might be looking for another move up the inside here, but I don't think she's quite got the pace, as she does avoid contact with the back of the Aston, just playing it safe. No point doing anything silly this early in the race.
Meanwhile, Stinos and Reshka side by side through Stowe Corner. This is for 10th place. And I think this is Reshka looking for a move. He is on the medium tyres as Reshka, so this is a slightly important move. Slight bit of wheel banging through the second part of Vale, but all fair game. And the McLaren, well, he's almost got the move done, but this is a good retaliation from Stinos. Looking to go around the outside of Abbey. Pinches the McLaren very nicely. Still side by side as we head up towards Village. I think Reshka, I think that was a bit of contact with Stinos and Luke Bailey.
Yeah, some brilliant racing from the two of them, keeping it nice and fair through a fair set of corners there. Stinos was not going to give that position up too easily, although those hard tyres unfortunately probably wore out till the end of that, as he is looking like he might be falling a little bit further down the order, with Stinos Rick and Murray even making that position as I say it, but Stinos will hold on for now.
Yeah, you got to be careful around Luffield though, because if you're on the outside, as we can see from Ricky Maru, he's not dropped back. He almost had the run coming out of Luffield then, but just couldn't quite get the job done. I don't know whether Stars maybe just used a little bit of ERS to keep that Haas behind. But that's quite an important move from Reshka on those medium tyres compared to the hards.
Yeah, just as you say that, Jeremy Clarkson's almost going to fly down the inside of Ghost, but he does back out at the end of the straight there. Ghost is 2.5 seconds off the front 3 drivers, who are still all within a second of each other, and will be looking to pull away as Jeremy has a little bit of a snap there, but he luckily keeps that car in a straight line heading forwards.
Absolutely, and Ghost really, it's an unusual phrase to say for Ghost, but he is being the cork in this bottle, as Ricky Maru and Stinos once again fighting it out, and Stinos has gone very wide through Abbey, but Ricky Maru up into 11th place, and Stinos losing a place to the Williams of Luke Bailey, and I think that's Michael Lutka just behind in the Red Bull. He's now looking to get involved in this action. He's on the medium, so he's going to be looking to try and make some moves as well, as Jeremy Clarkson, I know, is still practically pushing Ghost through Luffield.
Yeah, he looked to send it up the inside, but he backed out just a little bit, and possibly forcing an error from Ghost was the plan, but he couldn't quite make it work.
Looking back from Ghost, he just carries a little bit more momentum through Stowe, but it looks like Jeremy Clarkson can come back at him through Maggots into Beckett. Oh, that was a big slide from Speed Queen behind, and she's going to be vulnerable, I think, to Jasper.
Yeah, that rear light flashing is not going to be helpful for him now, as Jasper does send it up the inside, and that is a opportunistic move made by him, but he will not be complaining at all, as Jeremy and Ghost are going side by side. But again, Jeremy's just not forcing this one too much, as he does get a nice switchback, and it will be a run down to the start-finish line with a little bit of a snap from Ghost, and hopefully they'll keep it nice and tidy through as they go side by side down the start-finish straight, but Ghost will just hold on to that position for now.
Meanwhile, Reshka and Ricky Maru are side by side. Through club corner they go. Wow, almost contact between the front left and rear right. But here comes Luke Bailey. Is he going to have a look for Abby? No, he's not. And we've got about 2 or 3 mini groups of battles here we've got to try and keep an eye on. So we'll try and catch everything we can, but can't promise everything. But Stinos down the inside of Luke Bailey, and here comes Burmeister round Michael Lutka. Question is, can he get that move sorted through Aintree?
Yeah, brilliant recovery from Burmeister after that spin at the beginning, as there is a car going round of Nipro. He has spun it on the exit of Luffield, and that is not what he wants, as he was looking pretty handy up there in the top 3 positions, but that will be relief for the Aston Martin for sure.
Yeah, that's it's nicer only having one team car behind you rather than both, but that's a bit of a shame for Nipro because he's still got to go onto those hard compound tyres, so that has really hindered his race. As Ricky Maru, I think, has got past Reshka through Cops, and here comes Stinos through Maggots. That's a brave move, and he's made that stick. That's fantastic racing from the pair. Jeremy Clarkson, I think, now has got past Ghost up the Hangar straight. We didn't see it on stream, but you could see it on the leaderboard.
Yeah, he has indeed. He carried some speed, or he has had a bit of a snap there around the corner, and that will open the door for Ghost to maybe go up the inside, but those hard tyres are probably wearing a little bit now, and they don't want to push them too much and have to force an early pit stop, as we do have another spin at the back for MDJ.
That's a shame for MDJ. He was looking to have some good pace early on, but I think that spin on lap 1 or lap 2 has kind of paid dividends to his tyres, really. It never helps to spin your car with the tyres in this year's game, as Speed Queen and Jasper are getting very close together once again.
Yeah, that top 8 just fading away for MDJ, as he did have that spin, and that is our first penalty of the night from Reshka in the McLaren. It's a very easy track to pick up some penalties, and we have seen quite a few time penalties in the leagues below. We'll be seeing how many come out in Tier 1, but that is just the first one for now. Yeah,
it looked like he went wide through Aintree. He was trying to overtake Stinos. He's got to run through Luffield, though, and Woodcut. Side by side, we don't want remnants of previous years of F1, but they keep it clean. Stinos runs just a little bit wide, which should keep the door open for Reshka up towards Maggots, but Reshka thinks better of it and sticks in behind.
Yeah, I think going for a move, unless you're at least a good car ahead, is a brave one to send it up the inside of Maggots, or around the outside, should I say, and I think he thought better, as he will get the run out of the corner and down the straight, and he's going to look to go around the outside, which is probably the cleverest way, but Stinos does hold him on the outside and gets that exit. And those medium tyres might be starting to wear down now, as they are on lap 10. They've done 8 laps so far, and they'll be looking to come into the pit soon, as he is seeming to lose a little bit of pace here.
Yeah, Reshka's got Burmeister now for company as they head through Abbey. Now, also, something you picked up on, obviously, Speed Queen, her car seems to be harvesting quite a lot now, as Burmeister looks down the inside of Reshka, not quite able to make the move pay off there. Although he's looking for a switchback through that's the loop and through Aintree, but again, and Reshka seems to be allowing that car to wander wide through Aintree, as now Luke Bailey looks down the inside of Burmeister, but contact between Burmeister and Reshka. Yeah,
there's contact there. Burmeister has unfortunately run into the back of him there.
Oh, well, I don't know what's going on there. I think very, very slow after that incident as well.
I don't know if he was battling with the tyres to keep the car going again, but that is not what Reshka's going to have wanted there.
No, I don't know. I mean, I did see Michael look spin as well. I don't know who went into the back of Burmeister as he was trying to control that car, as Luke Bailey now picks up a 3-second time penalty. But that's kind of broken up that fight a little. Well, very much so. It's broken up that little group fight. So we can focus now on the battle for 3rd place.
Yeah,
and Cameron Searle's up to 6th.
Yeah, capitalising on others' mistakes and just creeping his way up the field. He's still a good 9 seconds away from the leader, but he'll be looking to capitalise on those medium tyres.
Side by side for that lead, because Nick Justin is alongside through Aintree. Oh, he's on the grass. Tirak has retired. That's in the pits, I think. But Nick Justin into the lead of the British Grand Prix in the Alfa Romeo. That's good stuff from him, but Emir, we know, is not one to back down from a challenge. And he'll be looking to get that lead back.
Yeah, you see the rear light flashing a little bit there from Justin, and that will... Emir will be keeping that in mind, as he is known for saving that ERS very well, as you see it flashing again, and I think Justin is going to be very vulnerable down the hanger straight here.
It's a bit wide, though, from Emir through Maggots and Beckett's. He's not got the best run through Chapel. So I think I think Justin's going to be safe for this lap as they head into Stoke. But doesn't
Yeah, he's just staying ahead.
As I think we got Cameron Searle was looking to get past Jasper then into Stowe, but again, just another move that didn't quite come to fruition. And Speed Queen, that's very early. I mean, don't get me wrong, we know Speed Queen is the queen of tyre wear. She can do unbelievable things with tyres that no one else can do. I mean, but 14 laps on, it was probably more than that, about 15 laps on a set of mediums, it does seem like a lot, but this is Speed Queen.
Yeah, she must be feeling like she can take those mediums all the way, and with that a bit less fuel, those mediums will last a little bit longer. I don't know if she was caught up in some traffic and decided that maybe her best bet was to pit and maybe go for an undercut, but that is a very early stop for herself, as some of the medium runners are going in at the same time. I did say that the laps would be close to each other as Burmeister retires in the pits, but I didn't think they'd be quite this close, pitting on the same lap.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it's quite evident that everyone else feels the same with that, on the basis they haven't yet come in the pits. I think, speaking the only one to pit from hard tyres. But we do know she does run not oddball strategies, but definitely more gambling strategies compared to others, based on the tyre wear she can get. So it'll be interesting to see how that works for her.
Yeah, she is one for taking softs in the sprints, so anything is possible for sure.
Emir just 3/10 behind Justin for the lead. MDJ and Nipro swapping places, but that's because Nipro's still trying to warm up those hard tyres at the moment. Yeah. So just having a look at this battle for third. Jeremy Clarkson, Ghost, Jasper, Cameron Searle, and Nipro. I think that's now 8 seconds worth of penalties he's picked up, because I'm pretty certain he sped in the pit lane for his pit stop.
Yeah, he did indeed. He's gone from bad to worse, as he was looking like an easy top 3, but a 5-second penalty coming into the pits, that is not what he wanted for tonight.
Absolutely. But I mean, we were about to talk about ERS, because you know Speed Queen's car harvesting quite a lot and regenning. And it's something me and Bruce talk about in Tier 2, is just how powerful the ERS is on this game. It's such a big weapon, as I think we've got a spinner at Club Corner. I think that's Nipro. It is Nipro. This year the ERS is such a powerful weapon that saving it, maybe losing a little bit of time early on, but then having it for the end is sometimes a really good strategy. But others obviously use it up a lot earlier.
Yeah, the DRS this year is nowhere near as powerful as it was before. And saving that ERS is vital, as Emir is looking to go around the outside of Justin, but he is going to hold him there and just park the car in the middle of the corner, as they run down to the last couple of corners. And Emir will think twice about sending up the inside. As you were saying about the ERS harvesting and staying behind him, that did allow Justin to harvest some ERS, which did help him keep that position, as we are seeing a few more drivers going to the pits there, as Ghost does make his pit on those hard tyres. Probably the first to pit other than Speed Queen, and maybe a bit more of a normal pit window from himself.
Yeah, 13 laps going 50-50 split on the tyres. I don't know how well that's going to work. Obviously, we have seen in previous races that those mediums do tail off and the hards do become the slightly better tyre. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. As I think we got a bit more of a spread field other than Emir and Jeremy now, and obviously Cameron and Jasper.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Ghost was losing that time to the drivers ahead, and I'm wondering if he's looking to get on those mediums early, close that gap, and maybe stick in the DRS and keep himself up with those front runners, as they are battling with one another at the moment. But staying with a normal pit strategy for Ghost, I don't think was going to do too much for him, and he's going to have to mix it up a little bit to make something happen.
Yeah, and here comes Emir Jurakovic. Houston had a bit of a wobble coming out of Chapel, and it's allowed the Aston Martin to go up there outside and back in the lead for Jurakovic. The question is they going to pit? Yeah, Houston. That looked like a sort of one of those box do the opposite of what the guy in front of you does, because looked a little bit late, but else he did make the entry, but definitely looked like a do whatever he doesn't.
Yeah, the move made by Emir and no ERS to fight for the next few corners. I think Houston is going for the strategy difference and hoping that will pay dividends. Just needs to make sure he doesn't get caught up in any traffic. I'm sure he's got people letting him know what's going on around him, but he'll be hoping that will help him regain the lead, as Emir will look to push, I think, through this next lap and probably come in at the end of it.
And the only thing that's not going to help Houston here is he now has Stinos, Ricky Maru, and Ryan DePeven in front of him. Now, obviously, those guys, they do not have an obligation to get out of Houston's way. They do have the option to choose not to, as Nipo unfortunately retires in the pits. That's a shame for him. But yeah, these three drivers of Stinos, Ricky Maru, and Ryan, they don't have to get out of the way of Houston because these are for position. But I think Houston's hoping that they're going to come in the pits this lap anyway.
Yeah, I think that will be the hope for Houston, as Emir has set a purple first sector and a purple third sector at the end of that last lap. And if he does dive himself into the pits, there's going to be a battle on the exit, I think, between the two of them, as Emir does look to go in the pit. He's just got to get that car slowed down and not pick up a 5-second penalty, and he plays it nice and safe and does exactly that.
Meanwhile, Ghost and Jeremy Clarkson side by side through Cobb's corner now. And this has worked for Ghost. He's ahead of Jeremy Clarkson for now, and Jeremy Clarkson clips the curb. He's off.
And just to double down on that one, a 3-second penalty for himself. That is not what he was hoping through those few corners.
I wonder where that's been picked up, though, because if that was being picked up when he's having a massive moment, as Ricky Maru picks up 5 seconds for speeding. Yeah, if that was picked up because he was already off the road and trying to regain control, I mean, he could go to the stewards with that one. But it just looked like he caught the sausage curb on the entry of Maggots, and yeah, that just sent the car straight into the grass.
I tell you what, I think Juicer might have... He's going to have the strategy correct, I think. Emir will come out in front, but he'll go up the inside here, and with that tyre temperature, he should be able to dance the car around the outside of that Aston Martin as long as he doesn't get forced off. And a good call from Juicer. He lost that position, but he looked to make amends with that early pit stop, and he will be in the lead for now, but Emir will be battling for that one as you see the flashing lights up ahead in an all-familiar state for Houston.
Yeah, as JSP and Stinos are now fighting on the pit exit into the loop. The Williams at the inside, and Stinos, again, he's got to warm his tyres up, but he should have slightly better because he now picks up a 3-second penalty for going off at entry. None of them with DRS by the looks of it, although I'd be surprised if that was the case. Stinos ran the outside of Brooklands. Job done. I think that's Michael Luck has gone off at the loop as well.
Yeah, not even warming up the tyres, just... I didn't see what happened, but I think he unfortunately dropped the car. And I think it's going to be a night to forget for himself.
Now, with this fight for third place, Cameron Searle has found himself up in 4th place. He's on the back of Ghost now. He's got a little bit of a gap to Speed Queen, just 6/10. It's not a lot, but it's enough to probably feel comfortable right now. As Houston sets the fastest lap of the race at 1:30.199. Is Cameron now going to start looking to try and get into this podium fight?
Yeah, drivers are looking quicker, and I thought Ghost might have been going for that early pit stop to try and close the gap to the two ahead, but it hasn't looked to work that way. I didn't see if he got caught up in some traffic, but a 6-second gap between second and third. You'd like to assume the top 2 steps of the podium will stay where they are, but it's all to play for with the third position in the podium, as Cameron has made a brilliant recovery tonight, and from qualifying, I think it was down in 8th position, he's got himself up into 4th and looking like a podium possibly for himself.
Yeah, once again, he's bided his time tonight and just picked off the mistakes, hasn't he? He's just allowed the race to come to him, which sometimes is a lot better way of doing these sorts of races, especially if this is a track that maybe Cameron feels that he isn't as strong at compared to others.
Yeah, he's definitely played it the right way, and I haven't seen how many overtakes he's made on track, but he's certainly looking like climbing up the field here as Emir is right on the back of Jewston, possibly for the lead. But he's going to back out and bide his time and not do anything silly here. These two drivers have been very respectful for one another, and he knows not to send it up the inside at a silly position, as Cameron is very, very close to the back of the McLaren coming out the corner.
Yeah, and so Emir tucks up behind the Alfa Romeo. Are we just going to see him wait for that red light to blink and go, right, now is my time? That is the big question for Emir. And I guess the other question for Emir is, if he does that, does he have enough ERS that he can maybe save to defend? Because you'd have to feel that Jewston's going to try and force the issue with Emir to try and force him to use that ERS. As here we go, DRS looking at the outside of Brooklands. It's not quite going to work, is it? He's going to let the car roll around, but Jewston's corner on that occasion. But it does look like this is more of a when than if.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of snaps out the back of Magnussen and Beckett's and up through Chapel, and I'm wondering if Emir is going to be looking for something similar here and look to make an opportunistic move that hopefully won't use too much ERS, and he'll be allowed to cruise the car pass and not battle through too many corners. If we are seeing another position made by Rick Amari down in P9 for now.
Looking behind from Jewston, out of Chapel Curve. You have to feel this is going to be a done deal situation as we go up towards Stowe Corner for the 18th time. Jewston is going to be fighting this, but unfortunately he just doesn't have the pace on that inside line, and Jurakovic up into the lead.
Yeah, brilliant move from himself, and he tried not to make the mistake he made in previous laps and keeping the car in front on the outside. And with Jewston not being able to close that corner, he has made that position, and that will be the race lead for now for Emir.
It does look like Aston Martin just sticks a little bit better than the Alfa Romeo. You see the slightly different lines for those first couple of corners, and completely different lines through the loop. Yeah, it does look like Aston Martin's looking a little bit bolted.
Yeah, the lines through that loop are very interesting. You can sort of take a nice tight line through, which will allow you to carry a bit of speed, and then a wide exit like you saw from here, or you can go for the wider line to get more speed through the corner, but then usually down onto that straight it does lose you a couple of kilometers an hour, and it's interesting to see the two of them mixing it up, as possibly the setups could be what will determine that for the two of the drivers.
Yeah, and this train for third place, I think pretty much everyone in the train has very minimal ERS, hasn't got a train of blinking lights apart from possibly Ghost at the front. But Jerry Clarkson in 7th, I mean, I know he's got a penalty. I mean, we know that it's potentially could be under suspicion to go to the stewards based on how he got that. But if he can get himself back up into the top 4, even with the penalty here, it'll still be a good recovery in reality on track.
Yeah, he's just got to go careful and make sure he doesn't pick up any more warnings through the rest of the race. And pushing for positions, it can always open up the chance of running a little bit wide or going a little bit tight trying to carry the speed. So they'll be keeping an eye on that one and hoping not to make too many more mistakes.
So we enter the 20th lap, and if the tyre, actually a lot of the field now on the medium compound. JSP, the first of the hard runners, in 10th place. He's in that last points paying position, but he does have Ryan de Peven closing in, although Luke Bailey is on the back of that Mercedes as well, which we'll have to keep an eye on, just 2 tenths away. Emir is leading this by 6.5 tenths, and then he got this train for third place. And then everyone, then apart from Luke Bailey, is a little bit more spread out, having a slightly easier race.
Yeah, I'm just sitting on board with the AlphaTauri of Cameron, and Ghost's exits look to be a little bit superior, as there is possibly a disconnect there from... I think Cameron Solo is disconnected as he's gone ghosted, and that is not what he's going to want.
I think we've got a bit of a mess, because Luke Bailey's has also disconnected. JSP has disconnected. Which isn't good, because JSP's the host. I don't know if you're going to try and re-invite some people there, Joe. I don't know if it's going to work for the host, because obviously JSP can't invite himself. As honestly, unfortunately, what this has caused is Cameron Searle's bot driver has decided to pit this lap. So that's ruined any chance, even if he can get back into this lobby. That's ruined his race good and proper, and Ghost now has a 1 second advantage over Speed Queen in 4th.
Yeah, a little bit of a disaster, unfortunately. A few disconnects, and that will be the nail in the coffin for Cameron, who was on a brilliant recovery drive. He has got back in, but he's going to be gutted once he sees that car in the pits.
Ryan, obviously you can see Cameron Searle dropping down the order, and that's just purely because of that disconnect, which is a shame. Amazingly, obviously, even you got JSP, Luke Bailey, Cameron, all currently under bot power. So
yeah, I don't have JSP as a friend, unfortunately, as he's moved over to PC, so I can't get him back in.
I will. It looks like we've got a little gap in the action, so I'll see if I can do something for him. I'm pretty certain I've got him as a mate, shall we say, on EA.
Yeah, in the meantime, I'll just keep an eye on 4th, 5th and 6th, as they are very close together, but a bit of a DRS train is stopping anyone really making a move, as Cameron has now dropped out of that train. But the 4 drivers keeping it nice and steady through the next few corners.
JSP has returned.
That's good to see, and luckily with that medium to hard strategy, it's not sent himself in the pits, and he will carry on fighting for the last points position.
And also good news, it looks like Cameron Searle is also back in his car. Luke Bailey, I think, should be probably the easier one of everyone to get back in, courtesy of the PlayStation invites, I would assume. But I'm not quite sure how it works, because obviously JSP is the host of the lobby. Oh, we've got a spinner. Jeremy Clarkson has spun through the loop just before Aintree. So that's put pay to his charge for trying to get third on track.
Yeah, no positions lost, but he is carrying that penalty, and the gap will start to close behind him, as he's going to have some warm tyres there. He's run a little bit deep, and that is not what he wants to see tonight.
As we go through, Emir leading by 0.8 of a second. Now remember, he's got 1 lap fresher tyres compared to Nick Houston in the Alfa Romeo. Not quite sure how much that's going to really affect this race, but it's always nice to have slightly fresher tyres. Gives you a slight confidence boost.
Yeah, I think Emir was just managing this gap, keeping it around the 0.6 mark. And really, neither of these straights around this track are sort of long enough to make a move if you're not within a good 3 or 4 tenths, providing there's no mistakes out the corners. So if Emir can just manage that gap for another few laps, and he'll be a happy bunny at come the end of the race.
Meanwhile, look at Speed Queen. She's now within a second of Ghost. Could we be looking as JSP has unfortunately left the session again, so maybe further technical difficulties for him. But Speed Queen, are we going to look at a podium here for the Alpine? I mean, she doesn't have a lot of ERS, and the McLaren of Ghost, that light's not flashing, so that's advantage Ghost, as Cameron Searle sets the fastest lap on that fresh set of medium tyres that his AI came to pit in for. He's in 10th. The question is, can he make up any more positions? I think he's going to be hard pushed come the end of this race.
Yeah, he did close a 1.5 seconds in that 1 lap, as he did pick up an extra point there, as long as no one takes it away from him. But as I say, that Luke Bailey has pitted onto those soft tyres, and I would assume that fastest lap point will be taken away very quickly.
He's not in the car still, so that's AI power still.
Has he not? Maybe that point could be all Cameron's got to play for, unfortunately, down in 10th place.
I mean, he's got a point to his name, firstly, for 10th at the moment, so he's doubling what he's got at the moment with that fastest lap. It's certainly a positive spin on things.
Yeah, exactly that. But this gap out the front is looking well managed, as Emmy is not letting it drop below 4 tenths. As it is the closest battle on the field at the moment, other than MDJ, but unfortunately that's not for points, and he's carrying a penalty himself.
I'm not sure if you're friends with Luke Bailey. I don't know whether it's worth you sending Luke an invite, just in case, if we can get him back in for the end of this race. So he's not going to really do him much good because he's way outside the points now, but he might, if he comes back in with those soft tyres, he might be able to get fastest lap and take that away from Cameron.
Yeah, I've sent a couple of invites to him, but I don't know if he's struggling with connection issues or not, but he hasn't rejoined since that first issue as MTJ makes another position, but that penalty will more than likely send him back down where he just came from.
Yeah, and Speed Queen again, she's within half a second, but just can't quite find that extra little bit yet to make a move on Ghost.
And that flashing rear wing is a bit of an issue for Speed Queen, as it's stopping her just making that move. And I've not seen any sign of flashing from Ghost. And he's just going to be doing a bit like Emmy is doing at the front, just managing that gap and trying to see the end of the race out.
And I think the worst thing here for Speed Queen, something that she doesn't yet know, that is if she's just on her own, no party chat with anyone, is that Jasper is not flashing either. So Jasper could have a little bit of an attack at the end of this race against Speed Queen for fourth. It's certainly going to be a close one, as the gap at the front is still hovering around 0.5 of a second. It just doesn't look like Houston can quite get close enough to Emir to make a run for it.
Yeah, managing that gap brilliant. And I think that pace through that first sector, that alternate line, is sort of helping him set up himself for the rest of the lap, as he pulls almost a 9/10 gap through the loop, but it does start to close very quickly.
Yeah, as the battle for third heads into Brooklyn's 3/10 is the closest that Speed Queen's been so far, but again, it just fluctuates as you get that calling effect sort of thing. Can't remember exactly what it's called, but everyone knows what we mean. As we head up towards Cop's corner, and 3.5 tenths, it's just coming out of the corners. It looks like possibly that Ghost is just getting a little bit of ERS out of some of the corners. So it looks like that Speed Queen closes in, but as soon as you come out of that corner, Ghost just applies a little bit of electrical energy and just builds it up by maybe 0.5 tenth, just to increase it enough.
Yeah, down into the last attempt for Jasper. Speed Queen might be wanting to look backwards, not forwards here. But it looks like she is clearing the gap as we go back to the front. And Emir does cross the line there.
Yeah, on to the last lap we go.
Onto the last lap. Exactly. Sorry, I had my laps mixed up there. I've 1 lap to go.
It's a bit like when they waved the checker flag that lap. I think it was Canadian Grand Prix, if I remember correctly.
Exactly. No one's perfect, as Emmy has a little bit of a snap there.
Yeah, well, I'm currently looking at Jasper and Speed Queen because it definitely looks like Jasper is starting to eye up a move here on this final lap. I suspect, well, I'd like to think hang her straight, but he's going to have to make sure he's got enough ERS to compensate for the fact that they both have DRS as it stands. 7/10 is the gap at the front. But we're going to keep an eye on this battle for fourth because it looks like Speed Queen is doing as you say, Joe. She's looking backwards, not forwards now, to that Haas.
Yeah, that flashing light is coming a bit tiresome for herself. And she's fallen off the back of Ghost. She'll have the DRS still, but she won't have the slipstream. And
Jasper is now flashing on the ERS light. So this is going to be a bit more of an equal fight than we first thought.
It's definitely going to be a drag race down the hanger straight.
I'll keep an eye on Emir because he's coming up towards Vale Chicane now. We'll see if it doesn't look like Jasper's going to make the move, so he's going to look to the inside, but nothing of it. But Emir comes round Club Corner for the final time. He wins at Britain, and I believe that could be back-to-back wins for Emir. Nick Houston in second. Ghost will hang on for third. A great drive by him. Speed Queen finishes fourth, just ahead of Jasper. And then we're into the penalty game. Jeremy Clarkson should keep 6th place, even with, I think, 3 seconds worth of time penalties. Stinos should keep 7th place as he rounds Vale Chicane and Club Corner. Ricky Maru will finish 8th. It's a good result for Ricky Maru, considering as he spins it across the line. Ryan de Pivine, he's just about going to beat Cameron Searle. Cameron Searle in 9th place. A good recovery. As I say that, Ricky Maru down to 10th. It's not showing that he's actually finished the race, which is weird. Now it does. MDJ is having to fight off Reshka here. Reshka looking down the inside, not quite going to pay off as we head through Vale up towards Club Corner. And across the line they go. MDJ, JSP, but that's JSP's bot, not JSP himself. Yeah, Ricky Maru, I think, just lost 2 places by spinning it at the final corner on the last lap.
Yeah, I didn't see it, whether he spun over the line or not, but I know that it will say you've not finished the race if you're carrying a penalty over the line until that time difference has been closed down, so whether it was the spin
quite a large
or that
penalty.
or not, yeah.
But Stinos, the driver of the day to the game, and once again, a driver taking a wheel onto the podium. I'm pretty certain that's not allowed, but Emir, I'm pretty certain. I'm just going to double check my facts. I'm pretty certain he won in Austria. Go onto my app. Yes, he did. So it's back-to-back wins for Emir, which is going to really boost his championship chances. Ghost will get past Cameron Searle now. But it's looking very green in Tier 1 for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, the Aston Martin's almost starting to take control of the IRL League at the moment.
So we'll go through the race. It is Emir Djurakovic who wins in Britain, followed by Nick Joosten after a terrific race-long battle. Ghost got 3rd place, Speed Queen in 4th, Jasper took 5th. Jeremy Clarkson 6th, Stinos 7th, Ryan in 8th, Cameron Searle 9th. It was 8 seconds worth of penalties for Ricky Maru, that'll be white. He's down into 10th place. JSP, that's a bot, so he doesn't count, so it'll be Michael Lutker in 11th, MTJ in 12th. Reshka 13th, Luke Bailey failed, unfortunately, connection issues. I mean, he did not finish. Nipro, Burmeister and Tirak all not finishing this race.
Yeah, some brilliant battles on track, but overall, less than a second between first and second. But you've got to feel that Emir was managing that race quite well. And although the gap maybe not says it, he was looking quite comfortable tonight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, a very, very much comfortable drive for him. I'm just going to quickly put a message and just see if we can get some of the drivers into the chats. I don't know if you can do me a favour, Joe, and add Nick Joosten to this message group to get him in.
Yeah, I'll do that now. I don't have him as a friend at the moment, that's the only problem.
I believe you should be able to add from people you've played with. If I'm correct.
Okay, he's added me either way. Right, let's. I'll give him an invite now.
Perfect. We do have Ghost in. We'll let Ghost have a small break. Obviously, he's got to do all his way in and stuff to make sure he's legal with the car. Unfortunately, Emir is unable to join us. So our race winner unable to join us in the interviews. It's a bit of a shame for Emir. We do have Nick Joosten, and I'm sure he's going to tell us, Joe, if we were saying his name completely wrong, which we probably are, all race long. But we do have Nick Joosten and Ghost in the party. Like I say, Emma unfortunately not able to join us, but we'll start with you, Nick. Please do tell us if we've completely messed your name up, but congratulations, 2nd place. Just before you start talking, just remember to have your voice shared just in case. But yeah, congratulations, 2nd place. It was a race-long battle between you and Emir.
Yeah, thank you. It is Nick Joosten, but you can just say whatever you say. It's no problem. You can say Nick. That's easier. But yeah, I think the pace was good. Only Emir's pace was just a bit better. On every exit, he just seemed to gain like a 10th, which I couldn't gain back. So yeah, I think from lap 10 I already knew I wasn't going to win because he just had more pace every lap. So I tried it, but this was the most I could do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you went in a lap earlier than Emir. Was that just purely trying to get an undercut and try and build a second gap for when Amir came in for his pit stop. Did you feel that was kind of the only way you were going to potentially win the race?
Yeah, because I think the undercut is always better if you go hard to medium. So therefore, it was, I think, the only option, because then he would go the lap later, I think, because he was leading at that point. So I had to do it. Otherwise, I would maybe even lose the DRS. So it was kind of a no-brainer, but it didn't work out, unfortunately.
Joe, any questions for Nick?
No, a brilliant drive from himself, and unfortunately, second place was the best he could achieve. But for a debut, you've got to be happy with that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, congratulations, Nick, on second place, your first podium in your first race this season for IRL Tier 1. We'll move on to third place man, Ghost. And again, another driver, Ghost. You had to have such a big battle there. You were very much a cork in the bottle for a lot of that race, just defending from up to 6-7 cars in that race.
I had, who was it at the start before Jeremy got past me? I can't remember, but I had someone behind me at the start, and then Jeremy behind me, and then Jeremy made that error, and then it was Cameron behind me, and then it was Speed Queen behind me. Yeah, I couldn't catch a break. I think I had a car less than a second behind me every single lap, but yeah, I managed to hang on. I had a couple of scary lag spikes over the course of the race. There was one on the last lap going through maggots. I was sort of half turned the wheel to the left, and then there was a lag spike, and my wheel just went, sort of dragged my hands to the midpoint and then back to the left again. That was very scary, but yeah, just about managed to hang on. I'm very, very happy. That's the best I could have done today.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously looked like Emir and Nick were slightly out of reach. I mean, even Nipro, unfortunately, obviously he had that spin. He looked very quick today. But for you, obviously, once again, you were a lot better on the ERS compared to those around you. Obviously, when you had Speed Queen on your tail, obviously you probably didn't. Obviously, you wouldn't have known. But obviously, she was obviously regenerating, trying to regen her ERS. In that harvesting phase, whereas you weren't. So once again, that ERS proving crucial for you in getting your results.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, I had no idea how much ERS the people behind me had, so I was just trying to save as much as I could, and sort of only use when I was in danger of being overtaken. Obviously, the fight with Jeremy used up a lot of what I had. I think on balance he was slightly faster than me, but not enough to build a gap once he was past me. So I was able to hang on, and yeah, but as soon as he made his mistake on the curb, I could just chill out a bit for a few laps, and that allowed me to save enough that I felt comfortable keeping Cameron behind, although with my main championship rival, at least for now, right behind me, it wasn't. Comfortable is maybe not the right word.
Yeah, Joe, any questions for Ghost?
Yeah, the only question from me is we've seen you right at the top step of the podium plenty of times in the past. Just wondering, maybe was it a car setup, was it the track, or did you get the most out of the car you could?
Oh, I got the most that I could. Those top two are just way faster. I had a really good quali lap, so I was probably further up the grid than I should have been, in quotes. So yeah, it was, I definitely couldn't have challenged the top two. They're just way faster. I don't know if you saw Austria last week, Joe, but Emir won by about 20 seconds. So I knew even if I was close to him in qualifying, I probably wouldn't have a chance in race pace, and that's how it turned out. So I'm really happy. My target was third today, and I got it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. On the podium, it's definitely nothing to snark about at all. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, so obviously congratulations to Nick and Ghost. We do have a small write-up from Emir. Obviously, congratulations to Emir for the victory, saying he was pressured the whole race. The new guy's super quick, and he enjoyed the battle he had this race, which, I mean, sums up the British Grand Prix, Joe. I mean, constant battles. I mean, we didn't really know where to look half the time. There was so much going on.
Yeah, some brilliant battles up and down the field for sure. And not too many mistakes either being made, and they're made for some brilliant racing tonight.
Absolutely. Obviously, next week we have the Principality of Monaco. Completely different ball game, and it's certainly going to be one that either people are going to love it from qualifying onwards or completely hate it.
Yeah, sort of the jewel of F1, as they say, and Monaco is quite often a race of attrition rather than pace. So it'd be interesting to see what they can bring to the table next week.
Absolutely. But from here in Tier 1, that's all the time we have. We've come to the end of the evening. But obviously, make sure if you've watched the stream, you've enjoyed the racing, make sure you like the stream, subscribe to the IRL YouTube channel to see more live racing. We do have one more race this week, which is the realistic performance from Silverstone. Myself and Joe in action tomorrow in that one. That's brought to you by Tim and Malc. Again, same time, 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. So make sure you join that. Otherwise, it will be next week when we go for round 6 at the Principality of Monte Carlo. So make sure you join us next week for more top tier action in IRL. But for myself and Joe, you've been watching the Invictus Racing League Tier 1 in partnership with GrooveFind.com. We hope you will have a good evening.